Hey guys, it's Dyalla here. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to go back to more the budgeting and finance side of things, but instead of being more about budgets and finance, I'm going to share some information about choosing a high quality investment property. Now, just a little bit of background from me. I have been a buyer's agent for the past 3 years and a qualified property investment advisor as well. So I do have this burning passion about sharing investment knowledge, especially using property as a tool to build wealth. So I wanted to also add into my YouTube channel lots of different aspects about property wealth building as well. Before I start, I just wanted to apologize for always wearing this jumper in my videos. I do have other clothes. So I have a lot of goals in terms of finding or building my own personal wealth through using property as a tool to do that. So I'd really love to share of my just tips to selecting a high quality investment asset. So when you are looking for a house to purchase an investment property, there are definitely, like, I would have to say 40 things around that number to look at and determine whether or not it's an investment property that's going to build you wealth. You could go out there and just buy any property, and there's a lot of things that you would not really consider or look at, but there are particular properties in particular locations that actually grow at a faster rate than other properties that investors would typically buy. So you want to find those properties that are growing at a faster rate and are going to give you the most return, the most bang for your buck in the shortest amount of time possible, and that's what you need to look for. When it comes to selecting the house itself, I just have a couple of things to look at, and this goes with mostly about finding the right location for the investment property that you're going to purchase. So tip number 1 is securing a land banked location. So that means that there is no available land surrounding the suburb or surrounding the house area for there to be more brand new builds and brand new stock coming to the particular area. It's important to, no matter what strategy you use to build your wealth in terms of property, but you do need to still consider the capital growth aspect of your investment property. Land banked locations is directly correlated with the capital growth as well. Just to explain that for a second, a land banked location means that there is no more available land to build any new home. And what that means is the individual houses that are in that location become more desirable because it's harder to get into that location. There are a lot of other aspects that make a location or a land banked location a quality location, but definitely having no available land surrounding that will ensure that the capital growth will be more towards your side than not. If you are, for example, just to share with you what the opposite means, there is a lot of brand new estates that get built, and usually they do gear these estates towards first home buyers and investors. They're the easiest ones to capture and put into those first home buyers. They get a brand new house and they make it super cheap, so the first home buyers go and try and buy a house in new brand new estates. They then also capture investors because there's a lot of benefits to high cash flow kind of investment properties. That's what gets drawn to that area. When you purchase a property in that location, you're probably buying in a certain stage of that whole entire suburb that they're creating. So you purchase a property, it's brand new, you put tenants in it, you know, it's making a good income for you because it was a cheaper entry price. However, all of the homes in the area look exactly the same. Most of those areas have more renters than homeowners. There are future stages, so more homes and more homes and more homes that are able to be built. Therefore, the price of your home in whatever stage you purchased in does not increase in value in terms of the land, because there's brand new homes going in a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, 4 years later, just in the surrounding area to where your home is located. So usually when you buy a brand new home in a new estate, you will actually lose money, especially in those first few years and until it's land banked. So you might need to hold properties like that for 30, 40 years before you start seeing the increase in the capital growth. If you buy a property and you have to hold it for 30 years just to see capital growth, or you could buy in a land bank suburb and see growth within like 3 years, there's definitely a more superior asset to purchase there. Tip number 2 is owner-occupier appeal. Again, going back to those new estates, all the homes look the same. Yes, they're new, yes, they're modern, but they don't really have any character to them. They don't have any appeal to them. They kind of just look like investment stock. You want to stay away from that. You want to be attracted to the homes that are attractive to the demographic of that area as well. So for example, you wouldn't buy in a beautiful family orientated suburb, you wouldn't buy a dual living home. Something that has 2 kitchens, maybe it's a 2-story house that's got 2 kitchens, 2 bedrooms on each floor, a living room on each floor. That does not appeal to the demographic of that area, and you're going to struggle to resell that property unless you are turning it into a family home and matching it with the demographic of the area. Owner-occupiers want the appeal for their lifestyle. They're moving to that area because they are a family and they're attracted to that area because it's a family-orientated area. So you want to be selling or having an investment that is a family home in that particular area. Owner-occupier appeal is where owners want to live. When you look at that suburb, there is data out there, and I can share the links down below in the description where you can look at the data yourself and determine whether the data is what you're looking for, but you want there to be more owner-occupiers in that particular location compared to investors. So I'll share that below in the description so you can go and check out the particular areas that you are looking in for that. The next one is negative overlays. So this is particular negative impacts that the property could come across wherever it's located. So when you are deciding on purchasing a property, the lawyers will do a couple of searches for you, but they usually cost money to do those searches, so some of them are free to do it for you as well. For example, if you go onto your local council website, they usually have a mapping tool that you can use, and you can check whether or not it is flood affected, so whether or not the property has flooded before. You can check whether or not it has a bushfire hazard overlay. You can also check the pollution and noise from main roads or train tracks if you're quite close to any of those. And it's important to be as clean as possible and away from all of those negative impacts that will come up when you go to try and sell the property in the future, or when you're trying to secure renters for the home as well. I would say renters don't really care as much if the property floods or if the property is a bit noisy, but owner-occupiers, because you're buying in an owner-occupier appeal location, you're going to sell to an owner-occupier in the end when you decide to exit that investment. So you want to make sure it appeals to them in every aspect possible. You want the best house in that particular area that doesn't have those negative impacts, because you'll have people coming through the door and go, oh, this house is really lovely, but I can hear the train every 5 minutes when it goes by just down the road. Or I love this home, but I don't value it as high as what I do the next street over because it floods in this street. It's also important to look at those and select those properties that do have those negative impacts. So I kind of already touched on this one when I talked about owner-occupier appeal. Owner-occupier appeal is probably more towards the way that the house relates to the demographic of the area, but also what happens when you are aligning the demographic with the area is that you have more owner-occupiers in a particular location compared to renters. What this does is, if owner-occupiers really want to be in a particular location, a particular suburb, owner-occupiers are more emotionally charged, and when it comes to selling that home, you will actually get a higher price other than selling to investors. Investors think with their mind, they think that with their wallets, they think, oh, it's not a good investment, the numbers don't stack up for me. But a homeowner will go, my kids absolutely have to go to this school, we have to be in this location, we are prepared to pay whatever it takes to get into this location. And that's when you get the areas that grow the most in value as well, because owner-occupiers, when they're purchasing properties, they are fighting over the property because they absolutely have to and want to be in that location. So more owner-occupiers in a particular suburb shows that it does have that owner-occupier appeal. Owner-occupiers are drawn to that location and they will fight to be in that location, pushing the prices of that suburb up. If you have an investment property in that location, you're also getting pushed up along with all of those other properties as well. On the contrary, so the opposite for, again, let's go back to new estates. You probably can tell that I don't like to purchase investment properties in new estates. There's more investors there. It's harder to get that appeal. It's harder to get owner-occupiers fighting over your property, and it's usually investment stock that is built in this area, so not high quality finishes or properties that look very different from each other, but more like cheap kind of quality builds that will attract other investors who think with their mind, with their wallet, whether or not it's going to make them any money, and it's not going to grow as high in value as it would if it was in an owner-occupier appeal suburb. So my last tip is to look for future infrastructure that's coming to the area. Now, this is important in a couple of different ways. So one of them is that you want to be close to public transport, especially in a land-banked location. So walking distance to a train station, but not too close that you can hear the train impacting the house and the livability of the home. You also want to see whether or not there's any new shopping complexes or anything that's coming to the area, because that does increase the value of an entire location. There are a couple of precincts that I know of around, in and around and outside of Brisbane, that they're building like universities and hospitals, and this is all that job growth for those particular areas, and that is going to bring a lot of people to the area and strengthen that particular section or multiple of suburbs that surround that hub of infrastructure. So that is super important as well to look for, but you don't want to be buying a house that's in the middle of it. So you're going to be bought out, you're going to have a 10-story building right next door to your home, because that would devalue your home. So when you're looking at the projects, you want to be within walking distance to these hubs, but you want to be away from them enough that they don't actually impact visually on the property as well. So no high rises within the site, because that obviously can devalue the property as well. Hopefully that's given you a little taste. There's so much more to consider when you are investing in property. I've just given you a few things today, and I've also only touched on them briefly. I will start to bring you more and more information to securing your first investment property and what you actually need to look for when it comes time. Obviously, this is to build our dream life, and we do need to invest to do that. It's hard to build a dream life just from working and saving and then spending that money, so making your money work for you is definitely a plus. There are a lot of people who make a lot of mistakes through property investing. When you have the knowledge that you need, you can select those high quality assets that will take you from 0 to 100 a lot faster. Keep listening to these kind of videos because I'm super excited to broaden your knowledge on this topic, and if if you had any particular questions about investment properties, please add them into the comments below and I will either do a video on them or respond to you. I do over the coming months have a lot to share on this topic, and it is a passion of mine and it is something that I do daily. So if you have any further questions about what I have already discussed, then again pop them in the comments below and I will answer them. But yeah, I will see you in my next video. Have a wonderful day. See you later.